building muscle or losing fat with just body weight workouts? Like, is it a real thing? Is it hype? Is it pointless, or is it possible? So that's really what we're looking at today is it pointless or is it possible to build muscle and lose fat just doing body weight workouts? Now, if you are no stranger to me, then you know that I am all about muscle maintenance, muscle building, because muscle equals metabolism. So that's one of the biggest things that you will probably hear me say that word in every single video ever, if it's pertaining to fat loss or physique goals in any way, is the muscle aspect of it. So the way that this question was originally asked was, can you, hey, I'm injured, I'm just going to be doing some body weight stuff. Please tell me that I can still build some muscle with weight. So I'm going to address it from that perspective, but more so, I get a lot of questions about body weight all the time, especially because after the pandemic, when a lot of people were forced to kind of start doing body weight workouts or nothing because maybe they weren't prepared with home gyms and things like that. Also from people who maybe they feel like they can't afford to have a gym membership, or maybe they don't want to afford it. They don't want to go to a gym, so they don't want to lift weights. They're not comfortable lifting weights. They are embarrassed to lift weights. They don't want to look too bulky, or like I said, they just don't necessarily want to invest in the equipment. So one of the reasons why it's really important to understand like whether or not this is something that you can do and whether body weight workouts will help you to accomplish your goals is because like I'm all about like actually accomplishing your goals, like getting stuff done, not just doing things for the sake of doing them. Now, I do understand that there is a reason for that. There are heart health benefits to doing pretty much any exercise. And if you're doing them for those purposes, then this is typically not what I'm addressing. Usually I am discussing working out or, the types of eating and things like that from the perspective of either like fat loss, building muscle, or hitting some type of goal when it comes to your workout. So whether that is a strength goal, a fat loss goal, like a physique look type goal, those are all things that you can accomplish with your workout. So the background to like what I went to school for is exercise science. So that is what my degree is in. So I'm like pretty much obsessed with how exercise can be used to manipulate and change the way that your body looks. So like actual like bodybuilding, I love the concept that you can use something as simple as exercise and completely change the way that someone, looks, the way that the person's physique structure is. Now, when the catch is that often when we see people promoting exercise, a lot of the benefits get all meshed together. So sometimes there's a promotion of exercise from the perspective of health. Sometimes there's the exercise from the perspective of weight loss. Sometimes exercise is promoted from the perspective of building muscle. Sometimes it's like just some fun thing that you're doing, like dancing or something like that. So like there's so many different benefits to exercise that if you're not first removing like what is your actual goal from exercise from the equation and first like understand that intention, then these types of questions of like, will something work, are always going to be very arbitrary in the grand scheme, because work for what? So we always want to look at that part first. And if you're new to this channel, one of the things that you will understand is that I will always address the mindset aspects of something before answering the actual question. So I know that's annoying for some people. If that's you, that's fine. I'm sure there's plenty of other channels that just like get right to it and, 5 best body weight exercises that you can use to lose fat. I'm not going to do that because I want to change the way that you think about weight loss and about exercise and about approaching your goals. So always, whenever there is a question about something working, that's the first thing. Is working for what? What is your goal? So whether it is building muscle or losing fat or heart health, those are going to get totally different answers. So will body weight workouts work for the purpose of just getting moving? For getting in the habit of exercising, if someone who's never exercised before, for getting in, for exercising when you're injured, things like that. Like, yes, body weight workouts were absolutely like, they're one of the best things that you can do to just like get into the habit of exercising. So if you're starting from like step 1 and you're like, I don't know the first thing about exercising, I just kind of want to like get into the habit, then body weight is absolutely the perfect way to go. There's no investment, there's no equipment that you need to buy. Your body is with you everywhere. So it takes away any excuses that there are to working out no matter where you go. So it's actually a great tool for that because it moves you straight into like no excuses zone, right? Because once you've decided that I am a body weight exerciser or I'm going to exercise using my body weight, then you don't have any of the stories or excuses that someone who uses gym equipment has. So for that purpose, it is perfect for establishing a habit, for getting started with exercise, for learning movements before you're like putting your body in any type of situation where you could be injured or harmed. So it's always good to learn moves without weight before you add weight. Now, when it comes to using body weight workouts for, let's say, the purpose of muscle building, again, the very first thing that I would say is, okay, like where are you in your journey? Have you been working out consistently for like 3, 4, 5 years and you're still using body weight? Or are you someone who is brand new to lifting? If you are 100% brand new to lifting, then this is the great opportunity to get started with that. So in that case, yes, body weight would work. If you're someone who has been working out consistently for 3, 5, 10 years and you are choosing to not add any weights to your movement, now the question that I am going to ask you, I'm going to answer your question with the question is, why are you choosing body weight? Are you choosing it for the purpose of that you don't have equipment, that you don't have access to equipment, that you can't afford equipment, or are you just unwilling? Because there's a difference. If you are someone who just absolutely like, you're like, look, there's nothing in the budget for $10 Planet Fitness membership. There's nothing in the budget for me to like go to thrift stores and find weight or things like that. Or, I am sincerely afraid of injury or something like that. Like first, what is the why behind it? Because the reason is that if you are someone who is going to be dedicated to body weight moves because of the fact that you are circumventing some other situation in your life that makes it impossible for you to actually use weights, then yes, building muscle with body weight workouts is possible. You will obviously have to have purpose in the things that you're doing. That's the reason why I'm saying why. Because if the why for the reason that you are not choosing to incorporate any type of weights in your routine for building muscle, if it's just because like you don't want to, like if you have the means to do it, but you're choosing not to, or you're saying like, I just don't really think it's necessary or something like that, like then that's a different reason. Because oftentimes what I find when in like prospective clients or even with clients that I do end up working with, often these questions are asked because of the fact that they are trying to find a workaround to something that they know they need to do. So often when there are questions like, say for instance, like a total different subject, like what if the person is asking about protein or something like that, and they're saying like, so like what about like vegans, like if I don't eat meat, do I still have to eat that much protein or something like that? So like it's the amount of protein that a person requires is the amount of protein that the person requires regardless of the type of eating lifestyle that they have. So often when someone is asking questions about an area, that's the first thing that I'm looking for is like, what's the why behind this? Are you asking how much protein that you need to eat because you want to tell me that you can't eat that much? Is it physically impossible to eat that much? Is it an issue with your like budget again that you're not eating that much? So it's really important to understand the why behind it, because if you're only asking a question because you're looking for an out, then it's better to just own the fact that maybe you don't want to build muscle. If you truly do want to build muscle and that's why you're asking, you're like, hey, I really want to get started. I don't have access to anything. What can I do with just my body weight, until I can get my hands on some equipment or, until I can figure out how to get into a gym or something like that. If you're asking for that reason, now there's going to be a little bit more involved because of the fact that you're saying that I'm dedicated to this process and you're going to do what it takes to make it work. If you're asking the question because you're trying to find ways to not make it work, that's a whole different scenario. And this video is probably not for you. Now, if you are someone that's looking to build muscle with weights, you may be looking at it like, okay, well, what about like, it's got to be easy to build muscle with weights, because what about like, the like prisoners that just like are in solitary confinement and they come out all like ripped or whatever. Like, like there's all these situations where there are people who don't use weights and they have like these toned fit physiques. Or a lot of people during the pandemic, we saw a lot of people that were very toned, like a lot of personal trainers and things, showcasing all of these body weight movements and all these things that you could like do at home without equipment for, the whole population of us that were at home that couldn't do anything. Now, it's important to understand that if that person was in the gym like 24/7 before they came home and started showing you these body weight versions, you want to take that into consideration, because they did use weights in order to build their muscle. So it's about the fact that, like, yes, you can do it. And like, yes, there are people that have done it. And yes, like we said, like with convicts or prisoners or something like that, we obviously see a lot of times people there using like 100% body weight workouts, the ones that don't have access to a gym or whatever. People come out of jail like ripped and cut, and we're like, okay, they obviously build muscle. It's also important to remember that they're not doing anything else in prison. So they have nothing to do but dedicate time to putting tons and tons of volume into their routine. Now, I did record another video on periodization, which is something that I will share with you guys a little bit here, but make sure that when I upload that, you watch it, because that'll explain a lot of this in a little bit more detail. So when it comes to building muscle without weights, when it comes to losing weight without using any of this weighted equipment, they're both going to kind of be one and the same. The important thing to understand is that whenever we're talking about building muscle or losing fat, the biggest difference between those two is going to be the way that you're eating. You eat in a surplus to build muscle, you eat in a deficit in order to lose fat. So that's going to be the biggest determining factor of whether or not you lose weight, not necessarily the types of exercises that you have. So if the food is under control and now you're looking at the workouts and we're trying to figure out, okay, which direction do we go here, body weight or weighted equipment? Yes, it is definitely possible to lose weight with body weight exercises, because of the fact that as long as you are creating some kind of deficit, as long as there is a deficit in the amount of calories that you're burning versus the amount of calories that you're eating, then it's possible to lose weight. Now, again, when we're talking about the way that we teach things here, what we're talking about here on this channel is it's more about keeping your muscle. That's the name of the game when we're looking at weight loss. It's not just about losing weight at any cost. It's about losing fat. And if you're losing fat, then that means that part of that weight is fat and part of that weight is muscle. And your goal is to hold on to the muscle and only release the fat, which in that case, the way that you would work out to build muscle and the way that you would work out to keep it are very similar in structure, because you want to work out in a way that is showing your body that I want to hold on to this muscle mass. And that's going to be similar to the way that you work out if you're trying to keep it. So fat loss and muscle gain are more calorie focused than workout focused. But once the calories are in place, the workouts do matter, because you don't want to just be doing any workouts or just tons of cardio workouts or just tons of like circuits and things like that are going to burn through your muscle mass. You want to make sure that you're actually doing the things that will hold on to that muscle mass. So the tips that I'm going to give you today, as well as the ones that I will give in the periodization video that is coming whenever I decide to hit publish on it, will also give you the tips that you need for this, and they will work in both cases. The main thing to understand is that body weight plans need strategy. So if you are opting to not incorporate any weights in your plan, it's just like the example that I gave for protein. What your body needs is still what your body needs, regardless of if you're choosing to do it with weights or without weights. So it still needs those changes in the intensity. It still needs those changes in the frequency. It still needs those changes in volume, which is what we call periodization, which my next video is about. So it still needs periodization and strategy versus randomness. So again, that's why you want to first always address the why. Like, because if you're doing it because you want to avoid strategy, you want to avoid periodization, you want to just like be random, you want to just like bust out some squats or do 100 squat a day challenge, or a, push up a day or whatever the case may be, or you want to just kind of like hit play on your whatever daily burn or, you know, YouTube video or Instagram post or something like that. Like you want to just kind of piecemeal together random things. If that's what you're using body weight for, then that is a cop out from the goal, which means that that is not your goal. Then your goal is not to build muscle. If you're using it for the sake, like we said, you're the person that's dedicated to body weight and you're like, I may have less resources than I would like, but I am going to make it work. Then you just need a strategy and you need to not be random with it. So there definitely still has to be that periodization behind it so that things are still like shifting and changing and moving in a direction that's allowing your body to slowly build muscle over time. If you're not allowing your body to build muscle over time and you're not manipulating all these different variables with periodization, then it's still not going to happen for you. So that's why, like, even in, like I say, the case for this, it was inspired by someone in my workout app that asked, but inside of the actual workout vault, like we have body weight workouts where it's like a plan where things are constantly changing every single week of the plan, which is what periodization is. So it's important to understand that if you're choosing to do body weight exercises in order to build muscle or lose fat, not just weight, then like your rep ranges will still matter. And you still need to be very cognitive of what you're doing with those rep ranges. So for instance, if you're doing a workout that is 20 reps of some body weight move, then that is still very much endurance. It's not strength building. So the rep ranges, which I did a video series on rep ranges many, many years ago. I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. I will link to that in the description. But when you're looking at those rep ranges that I described in that video, that is what matters even when you're doing body weight exercises. So when you're looking at, okay, if you're trying to gain strength, then you need to be like at that like 8 reps and below range. If you're looking to gain muscle, you need to be right around 8 to 12 reps. If you're looking to just like increase your endurance, then that's going to be like 12 reps and up. So I break down the rep ranges in that series, but understand that when you're looking at body weight work, rep ranges still matter. So if you are looking to build strength, you are trying to get stronger, and you are doing a body weight move that you can do for 20 reps, you are building endurance, you are not building strength. If you just stop at 5, 6, 7 reps, but you could do more, then you are still shortchanging yourself. So that means that if now you're going to use body weight moves to do what strength training is doing, you need to manipulate the move in a way that still makes you fatigue at that particular rep range. So let's say, for instance, if you are doing something like push-ups. So like I'll give you a few ideas of some like upper body exercises when it comes to body weight. If you're doing something like push-ups, pull-ups, dips, those are all body weight moves. If you are doing something that requires muscle building, let's say for your push-ups, and let's say you are someone who can only do like 2 or 3 push-ups, then that's actually a good move for you to build strength with because of the fact that you're in the strength rep range with it. If you want to move it into the muscle building rep range, then you want to manipulate your body in a way that allows you to fatigue by 8 to 12 reps. So that's the reason why you'll often see, you know, someone say to like, you know, go on your knees or something like that. So there's multiple variations of modified push-ups that you would then use, but you would only use the modification that allowed you to fatigue within the rep range of the goal. So if you're trying to build that strength, then you're trying to fatigue at 8 reps or below. If you could do more than 8 reps with the modification that you're using, that is no longer a strength move for you. If you could do more than 12 push-ups, that is no longer a muscle building move for you. You now have moved into endurance territory with that push-up version. So you would want to have new versions of the move in order to continue to stay in that rep range. So if you're trying to build muscle and you could go past 12 reps and you want to get back into that muscle building territory, then that means you now need to figure out how to change this move. So you're either doing maybe a decline version of the push-up, or you're like putting maybe one leg in the air to add a little bit more like weight on your arms doing that move, or you're going to push your arms closer together or further apart. Obviously, if you're pushing them a little bit closer together, you're hitting the triceps a little bit more. Further apart, you're going to hit more of the pec muscle. So like even the variations of the moves there is hitting the muscles in different ways. But the point is you want to figure out how to get that movement to feel the fatigue by the required amount of reps. So for some people, that can mean that it becomes a one-arm push-up, which, like you can start to see that as you shift and change the variations, there are, like if you pull your basic moves that you can do with body weight, but you have these progressive variations with that move, then you can absolutely use them to, like in a periodized manner, to build strength, to build muscle, and to hold on to your muscle while you lose fat. So with all of your workouts like that, you want to be able to do that. So if you're using the body weight moves, if you're using push-ups, you want to make sure that you always keep that push-up intense enough that you fail within the proper rep range. If you're doing something like pull-ups and you either can't do pull-ups at all, or you're only doing one version, like you can only do one pull-up, that's keeping you in the strength rep range. So if you're trying to build muscle, then you need to manipulate that pull-up in a way that allows you to get into the 8 to 12 rep range. So that means doing something like an assisted pull-up, or maybe you like have a band or something like that, which I know we're talking about body weight, so maybe you don't have bands if we're talking about absolutely no equipment, or like standing on a chair or something like that. Or maybe if you're like at home and you're using like a chair or a table, doing more of an inverted style pull, or sometimes you can like sling a towel over your door and kind of pull that way. So there's definitely variations of the move, but you want to get that move into the rep range for the goal that you're trying to accomplish. So with any of those, it would be the same thing. So with your basic moves that you see in a lot of either like workout videos or Pinterest workouts or something like that, like if you're trying to incorporate those for yourself, then you would need to be manipulating different variables along the way to make sure that you're actually taxing the muscle in the way that you need to in order to do that. So the same thing would go for the lower body exercises when you're looking at like squats or lunges or step ups, bridges, things of that nature. You want to be able to manipulate the move in a way that allows you to hit that fatigue goal. So whatever the rep range is that you're looking for, wherever you're at in your periodization, that's what you're looking at. So like if you are doing 100 squats a day, you are very much in endurance territory. Leg workouts are one of the ones that are a little bit harder to manipulate without weights, because of the fact that especially women, we're usually a lot stronger in our legs. So remember, once you've gotten past 10 to 12 reps that you're doing with your legs, you're not in a muscle building range anymore. So if you're doing 15, 20, 30 reps of your squats, it's time to start manipulating that squat to make it harder. So this could mean doing things like one leg squats, pistol squats, something like that, doing step ups or some variation of that, making the moves go like slower. So you're doing a little bit more of like negative training with it so that you're actually fatigued in time. Like I said, again, with leg work, this can be a lot harder, but it's still possible. So that's the reason why I was saying that if you're going to be the person that is choosing body weight, you got to be dedicated to it. It's not going to be something that you just like. That's why I can't just give a blanket answer of like, oh yeah, you can build muscle with body weight, which a lot of people do. But if you don't understand how, then that doesn't help you. Because just because something is possible, if you don't know how to do it, then that doesn't help you. If you just go and like have the tools, but you don't know how to use them, what good does that do you? So knowing that you can build muscle with body weight exercises, knowing that you can lose fat and hold on to your muscle with body weight exercises is one thing. Understanding how to manipulate all the variables around that is a completely different thing. So don't just take the blanket answer of you can do it and then go just grabbing things from wherever and continuing to be random in your journey. If there's anything that I want to constantly repeat to you guys is that random actions, whether it's random workouts, random eating, random plans, like just doing things randomly equals random results. If you want a strategic result from what you are doing, you have to be strategic in what you are doing. So the only way that you can get a PhD is to take those specific classes when you go to the college. Like that is literally the only way. If you do not go on that track of whatever the courses are that lead to that, then you're not going to be able to have that specific degree. So it's really important to understand that that is one of the biggest things that gets most people tripped up in their fat loss journey, in their journey to gaining strength, in their journey to gaining muscle is number one, what we started with in the beginning is lumping all these things together in one and just saying like, yeah, this one thing will make me lose fat and gain muscle and build strength and do all the things, recognizing that pick one goal and focus on that, and then make sure that the things that you're doing, the exercises that you're doing, the food that you're eating are in alignment with that goal. So the next video that I will release is on, I went into a little bit more depth of periodization as part of our plateau series of the ultimate guide to breaking your plateau. So that is gonna, I have no idea when I'm gonna upload it. I don't even know why I'm waiting. I don't even know why I did this before uploading it, but the point is that periodization is gonna be so key to preventing plateaus. So definitely watch that video when it comes out, because I'll go a little bit into more depth on periodization, but this is kind of the prelude to that as it pertains to body weight exercises. But with your workouts in general, understanding that you need to periodize and be willing to periodize is going to be the key to actually getting those results that you want. So again, if you guys are looking for a done for you periodization, you can always sign up for my workout app, which I plan out the entire year for you. So you just like get in and you work out every day of, not every day of the year, but every day of that phase of the year. So it's usually like 3 to 4 days a week or whatever. And then you have monthly videos from me that are telling you exactly like what to do, how to make the most of that phase and things like that. But either way, the point is to understand that you will need strategy regardless of what you're doing, regardless of which route you take, if you want a specific result. If you're not looking for a specific result, then go ahead, like just be random until your heart is content, because sometimes it's fun to just be random. But it's just important to understand that when you are in those random phases, to not look for results from it. Or if you do get results, to just kind of just be a happy surprise, because typically that means it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to duplicate later because of the fact that it was random and there's no like, you didn't keep track of what it was that you did to get those results in the first place. So thank you guys for joining. Stay tuned for the periodization class that I recorded for you guys, and I will get that up as soon as I think to maybe tonight or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it up tonight. But thank you guys for joining, and I will see those of you guys who are watching this from Facebook. I'll see you in the group, and those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, I'll see you